All right, so this is our first podcast. So I'm gonna just start introducing myself. So my name is Taiki. I'm currently a professional poker player. That you know really got into the rabbit hole of crypto around six months ago, and since 2021 started, I've just been like 6 days a week crypto, just like not even playing poker anymore, and just really getting into the nitty gritty behind like just everything about crypto, like Bitcoin, DeFi, etc. And I started a YouTube channel because I figured, I'm learning so much, might as well share it with the public and see if I can build an audience. And now, I invited Spencer to co-host a podcast with me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be a part of it, and I would probably say that your description is good and that I'm jealous of you. I feel like you work full time in crypto, and obviously I'm at a job. We're doing real estate finance primarily. I'm structuring deals all day, and I'm getting updates from you on the DeFi space or various projects, and I'm super jealous because you kind of dig in and have become super knowledgeable in it. So it's cool to be co-hosting, and I think this could be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So let's just go over how we first met because I think we have a funny story. We didn't really know each other, right? I mean,
Yeah, I don't even know how we got acquainted because that accounting class we were in, and for everybody listening, Taiki and I went to Berkeley together, and we met in an accounting class. I was
yeah,
just trying
some
to think
boring
of,
ass accounting
yeah,
class. I think we
yeah,
got paired up for a group project,
uh-huh,
and
uh-huh,
we just I don't know. I think we were just so over the class that we just started talking about options trading.
yeah,
And
which
because
is,
I think the class started at around 12, right? 12 to 1:30 or something.
yeah, yeah.
So like right before market close, like we would just like sweat our options.
Yeah, I remember. I
Yeah.
remember I kind of sat in the front row, and I remember looking back because you'd be texting me, you'd be texting me updates on the
The
market.
Salesforce calls, Salesforce earnings, dude.
Yeah, and
I
I
remember
was
I saw
trying
the
to.
call. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
saw the call and like Salesforce soared like 20%, and I was like, ah, fuck, like fuck.
And I remember I was trying to think of the professor's name, but it's Brigginshaw. And I hope
Yes, that guy. Yeah.
Brigginshaw, if you ever hear this podcast, we love you.
Yeah,
But
for letting us
yeah,
fuck around. Yeah.
yeah, that guy used to run into class, and I remember he would print out the worksheet for the day, and it would still be hot when you got it because he would print it out last second every time, and he'd come running in the doors, and he'd be like full sweat. It was like kind of gross. I just remember him passing it out, and he'd be so sweaty. And then
Yeah.
he was super excited to teach us about accounting. So
Yeah.
at least he was into it. But
Yeah. And
yeah, that was fun.
after that class, we just didn't speak to each other for like years, right? Two
No,
years or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, I remember getting lunch one time, and you were kind of working on that Kobo coffee
Yeah,
startup,
yeah,
and we
yeah,
just kind
yeah.
of talked about it.
Yeah, I'm still working on it. I sent you
Yeah.
some samples. It's going pretty
Yeah.
well. I guess doing a startup, especially in food during COVID, is
Yeah.
especially hard. But we're we're grinding. We're grinding. We're
Yeah.
hustling.
And it seems like I mean, I tried some the other day, and I haven't had some in a while, and they still taste great. But it seems like I don't know if you want to touch on that, but I think being a professional poker player, and obviously you had a job out of school, but kind of being your own business person now, and I think crypto is kind of unique in that it allows people to really kind of take control of their financial freedom. Um,
Exactly.
and yeah, I mean, with yield farming and all of these uh, different protocols you can be a part of. I don't know if you want to touch on that. I think that being your own boss and working, 6 days a week in the space is really interesting and non-traditional, and I think that path is kind
Yeah.
of opening up here. So if you want to touch on what that's been like, I think that
Yeah.
would be
So
cool to talk about.
I'll just go more in depth on background. So
Hmm.
after I graduated, I joined a company, just like a normal 9 to 5. And when COVID happened, I got laid off because I was working in the retail industry. So everyone in my department got laid off, and it was like pretty brutal. Um, so when that happened, obviously the stock market, the March 2020 crash, like it dumped like 30%. And I used to be a pretty frugal guy, and like I always saved money, didn't really invest, and I just like dumped all my money into stocks, Apple, Amazon, whatever, because Warren Buffett told me to buy the dip, so
Yeah,
I just
right.
I just bought the damn dip, and I thought like maybe in like 3 years, like it'll go back up to like where it was because I didn't
Sure.
really understand stocks. But what ended up happening was like when they started printing money, like it's just like bounced right back. It was like a V-shaped recovery,
Yeah.
and I was like really astounded, like what? How does this even happen? And then I learned about money printing, et cetera, et cetera. Got into Bitcoin, fell into the Bitcoin rabbit hole, and I was like, wow, like this is digital gold. This is the future reserve asset of the world.
And what year was that
Like
roughly?
last year,
Yeah, like 2020.
yeah, like really
Yeah.
like less than 12 months ago. Like I've just been like I just had like a light switch turned on like less than 6 months ago about like the importance of Bitcoin and like decentralized finance on Ethereum.
Yeah.
Uh, and let's see, like yeah, well, like since that happened, I'm just like trying to like educate myself, getting like deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole of DeFi. And at this point, I'm just like trying to learn as much as I can. And like you said earlier, I think crypto is really interesting because you can like base. It's such a new industry that I think there's lots of opportunities to like make your own job in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like on Twitter, if you like, crypto is really big on Twitter, and there's a bunch of pseudonymous characters, right? And I think that's really cool because and how these pseudonymous characters like they have a pretty good reputation because people value what they say, like not their background,
Right.
right? And I think for me, I don't have a financial background. Like literally, like I just play poker. Like I used to play poker
Yeah.
like 7 times a
You
seven
used
days
to
a
say a
week.
lot though in college. You used to say plus EV, and I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
and and we probably split even on our investing in college. And it's funny that we made the podcast because I said forever I would never do a podcast, and so we joke about
yeah.
it,
Maybe
but
this is a top.
yeah, this is
This
the
is the
market
top of
top
the
here.
crypto bull market.
Yeah, but kind of getting into the space, I think everyone has their own story, and it's cool because I feel like it's grown so quickly, the space itself, in the last year, and a lot of people about it as being the new internet. And
Hmm.
um, I agree with that, and I've talked to some really smart people who say that exactly. Um, but everybody has their own unique introduction into the space, and I think that buying for the first time for a lot of people is kind of scary, and
Hmm.
it's amazing how quickly you can go from your first purchase in whatever exchange, Coinbase, Binance, whatever you're using, and then all of a sudden I have this huge feeling that I need to be buying more every single day and that I don't have enough, and that
That's me
that
every day.
yeah, right. And it's really easy to go down the rabbit hole, like you said. um, and it's funny because when I first started doing it, first started kind of getting into blockchain, I just remember people kind of being like, yeah, you're crazy,
Hmm.
and not really taking time to understand it. And I think that when people take the time to really dig into it, and start to get into that rabbit hole, it just changes your whole train of thought, and it becomes addictive because I think the current financial system we have is pretty broken. And
Yeah, and things start to click. I mean, like literally in the past 12 months, we had like trillions of dollars printed. We had the GameStop saga on Robinhood,
yeah, and I
and
think
really opens up to like like David versus Goliath, right? Like the little guy versus the big
yeah,
guy.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I really
and like
think that what changes too in our generation, at least, and our generation being early 20s, is that we have all these resources at our fingertips.
yeah, internet
And
natives.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, when you mentioned Twitter, like, you're able to follow some of the smartest people in the world on Twitter, and see exactly what they're thinking. And
Mhm.
um, on top of that, you can really self-educate yourself on the internet, via YouTube, all of these subscriptions that you can sign up for, which I think that's kind of actually something that stands out to me that makes me worry, is the amount of people on Twitter or on the internet that you can pay right now for investing advice. I think
Oh
that
yeah.
when everyone becomes an advisor, it kind of worries me. And so even us doing this podcast, um, obviously the space has become a little euphoric. And my sister's friend came over for dinner the other night and was asking me, if I knew what Cardano was, and
Cardano. Oh my God, Cardano. Dude, the
Cardano,
Cardano shills are everywhere. Like I've
yeah,
seen these
or Stellar
$50 price
Loomis. Yeah,
predictions.
she was asking me about the coin, basically native tokens on Coinbase,
Yeah.
and ones that are listed on Coinbase. She was asking me about, and she's like, I'm trying to find, the next Bitcoin before it's Bitcoin, and
Oh God,
yeah,
it's
this one's trading
happening.
at 40 cents. Yeah, so it does feel a little worrisome, but I think the adaptation that we've seen in the last year, even with yourself, and I would consider yourself very knowledgeable in the space too, and I have become close with a couple of really smart guys running hedge funds, and people, at the Galaxy Fund, even for crypto. Um, and I was like, oh, we got to get on a conference call with Taiki, and because nobody's following the space more thoroughly than him. So now we're doing a podcast, and I'm excited to talk about it. We'll see how many people tune in to hear us rambling about crypto. But yeah, we've come a long way. I think meeting at Berkeley, that's a whole nother story, and discussing basically uh, the business school and our experience there. And
Yeah.
truthfully, I really don't use anything from the business school
I
that
don't
we learned.
either.
Yeah, I mean, point in case was that accounting class, which we
Sweaty
were,
professor.
yeah, and we're following the markets the whole time and texting each other about earnings reports. And it's funny because we just fell off, and then reconnected via blockchain and Bitcoin in particular, and now we can't get enough of it. Now we're doing a podcast. So
Yeah, and the thing with crypto is, I mean, I have so much. I have a lot of money in crypto, right? I think we both do, but it
yeah, you
just
have
feels like
zero.
we never
To
have
be clear,
enough.
everybody has zero cash. He's fully 100% invested in cryptocurrency, which is I'm trying to get to that level. I'm
It's
uh,
just conviction,
yeah,
and
that
if you look, I mean, I feel like 6 months from now, you'll look back on like March 7th, 2021, and be like, wow, I had like what 20% cash. Like, what was I thinking?
yeah.
I think that's what's going to end up happening, and
Yeah, I
I
think we
do think
should.
this is one of the greatest wealth transfers, like the crypto. Oh, sorry, what
Yeah,
were you gonna say?
no, I agree. It's funny you say that, because part of the main conviction for me getting into crypto was I had traded it a couple years ago. My first buy, I go back, I look, my first buy was in the low 3,000s. Um, and I bought it. I bought a couple $100, and I made I doubled my money, and I sold it. And I was like, wow, this is crazy, but this is speculation. I don't really know what I'm doing. It's just Bitcoin, and it's something that my sister's high school ex-boyfriend used to talk about at dinner when I was when I was 15, and my dad and I laughed him out of the room. And so I think you hear a lot of stories about that, about people who didn't believe in it and don't understand it, and then you see these really intelligent investors, Stanley Druckenmiller and
Paul Tudor
Paul
Jones.
Tudor Jones, all these really established investors that have kind of transitioned and are really involved in the space now. But it just takes that kind of time to get into the rabbit hole and really kind of get your hands dirty and understand the space. And so for me, I bought early, didn't really hold on, paper hands, and made a quick buck and sold. And then um, kind of came out of college, obviously at a nice time. We're in a great bull market, one of the best ever, and started taking half of every paycheck and for my job, and putting it into blockchain. And I was trying to figure out the right way to invest in it because I've never had really a sizable investment account. I had $300 in my Robinhood account that I basically got by bugging all of my friends to sign up for for a free
Those
stock.
referrals.
Yeah, so I referred 500 people. I was really into it, and then I kind of just started reading all the traditional value books and kind of going down a similar to you, Buffett, Graham, some of these really famous investors, more traditional. And then I started I following a couple guys that were really involved in the crypto space, and they were super bullish. And I was like, I'm just going to take half of every paycheck and start putting it into Bitcoin, Ethereum, some of these smaller
Only
altcoins.
half.
Yeah, right. But for me, I still am. I'm at home, and I don't have a lot of overhead, and so it was kind of a risk I was willing to take. I thought there was a place for it in the future. The tech is going to be really prominent, and then what for I think similar for both of us is Raoul Paul from Real Vision. I had been following him in March. I first found out about him literally market bottom. I watched a video, and it was a tough day for me at work because it was Friday. It was around 8:00, and we had basically just sent home our entire workforce, 100
Wow.
plus people, and said, we don't really know what's going on with this virus, but it's serious, and everyone's going to be working from home from now on. And that was kind of wild because when I first started hearing about COVID, I thought, man, this thing's going to be more serious than China's reporting it to be. And I was trying to figure out how to trade volatility and capture alpha, through this pandemic. And I ultimately researched how to trade volatility for like a week. And it's just a really hard thing to trade because of the way the VIX works. And it's an extreme, with some of the ETFs and the ETNs, it's just not really a great trade, and it's hard to do. You have to be quick in and out of it. So I ended up getting busy with work and not getting to it. And then, I'm watching a YouTube video from Raoul at like 7:30 at night on a Friday. And we just sent home our workforce. And Raoul's basically saying that Russia and the Saudis are unpegging from the US dollar for oil, and China's going to do it too, and they're going to try to basically screw over the US economy and really stick it to us. And I'm just thinking, wow, I've never dug into macro, but this does not sound good at all. And I thought it was the end of the world at the time. And I had owned some Bitcoin, and then as time progressed, Raoul turned really bullish. And I think I had more understanding than he did at the time. And so to see someone of this huge macro success kind of turn bullish on Bitcoin, that was like a huge signal to me. And I started going in. I started trading, with leverage and buying Bitcoin futures, which ended up, I had no idea what I was doing at first, but figured it out and turned a good profit. But I was trading Bitcoin futures deliverable in Bitcoin. So kind of was snowballing my Bitcoin through these futures contracts.
Yeah, it's crazy how life works, right? Like
Yeah.
for me, I mean, I was working this 9 to 5, right? And when I got laid off, at that point, I felt like, you know what? Like I'm just gonna start playing online poker because I've always been into poker. Like the summer of junior year, I went to casino every single day, and to like really test my abilities to see like, you know what, if I ever have to go pro, or if I ever do decide to go pro, can I make it? And I made like 50 an hour at a casino, and I'm like, okay, wow, like this is super stressful, and like there's like no benefits, but I can do this. So when
better than minimum wage, absolutely.
Yeah. When COVID happened, I I mean, obviously I can't go to a casino, but I just went like played online poker every single day. And the good thing about like being a poker player is that like there's like I'm not working for anybody, right? Like I have the freedom of my time. Like I can spend like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like any way I please.
Sure.
Obviously, if I don't play poker, I don't like make money. But
Right.
I feel like to go back on like the EV, like plus EV, like that stands for positive expected value.
Right.
Um, and when you study poker, like you just start thinking everything in terms of EV, right? So when I think about 2021, like if I think about the expected value of my hourly for like the rest of 2021, I feel like researching crypto is gonna like earn me the highest returns. And like
Sure.
understanding the space, I think, is gonna benefit me so much, like in the future that I just think it's like I shouldn't do anything but crypto right now. So
Yeah.
and I haven't played poker in like 2 months. I mean, I have, but like barely. It's like 10 hours a week or something.
You're not playing for a living right now.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I have like I've made enough money and I've saved enough money like through crypto and stocks to like I don't have to like work to like pay the rent or something. So
Right.
I'm just spending this time. I'm just like thinking of it as an opportunity and just investing myself into the space, which is kind of crazy to think about because if I didn't get laid off, then I wouldn't be in this situation to begin with.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't get laid off, I would never have studied Bitcoin. I would never
Yeah.
have gone into
Kind of a
Ethereum. But
blessing in
yeah,
disguise here.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And now
Yeah.
I'm like this crypto bull that's like 0% cash essentially. Like I'm like 70% crypto, like 28% stocks and like 2% like living expense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think so. I was gonna ask you about this,
Mhm.
but I think about like my greatest fear, right? This is with regards to crypto,
Yeah. What's your
and
greatest fear?
yeah, so like I think a lot of people like when they think about like their greatest fear with like Bitcoin is like, oh, I'm not gonna sell the top, right? Like I'm gonna be too greedy, and I'm not gonna sell the top. Like then people, a lot of people like want to time the top, right? They want to sell the top at like
Yeah.
100K or something.
Yeah.
But like my greatest fear is like selling too early. Like my greatest fear is selling Bitcoin at 100K and seeing it go to 300 or 400. Like that would be my greatest fear. Like I would hate myself if I like let go of my coins. Obviously, I'm gonna sell some to like change my life after my coins hit like long-term capital gains.
Sure.
That's obviously like important, but like for now, like I just like I don't need the money, so like just put it in crypto. I mean, it's
Yeah. I mean, having that financial freedom to not need the money right now is huge. And I think the hardest part that I've learned in my short investing career is the hardest thing to do is to know when to sell.
mhm.
And that's with any security, any asset. Um,
Yeah, buying is easy. You just buy
yeah.
whenever it goes down and
Yeah.
like hope it goes up, but selling is
Yeah.
hard.
And with crypto, I think we talked about that, but that constant urge to buy more is insane. Like I seriously today bought more and I can't help it and I don't think I have enough. And that constant fear of I don't have enough. And it's not even fear of missing out. It's like fear
Fear
of
of being
missing
left
that,
behind.
yeah, that generational wealth shift that you're talking about. And that was another thing that's really funny that got me into this space was I watched a YouTube video by a very well respected investor who basically said this is going to be the biggest generational wealth transfer in the history of mankind. And I'm like, okay, buzzwords, and he's trying to grab my attention here, but he started talking about the people in the space. And I've heard Raul say this too, but if you were to gather everyone at some type of event, put them in a football stadium and look around and see all of the people in the space, you would be amazed with the number of intelligent people that are actively involved in blockchain and crypto. And I mean, look, it turned you and I into, let's not jinx it, but we've made some huge unrealized and realized gains here.
Mostly unrealized.
Mostly unrealized. But I don't, I've been thinking about it a lot, and something funny I do is write down on an index card my thesis and when I'm going to sell. Because then when you get whipsawed like the market this last week with obviously short-term rates going up here, and everyone kind of panicking in growth stocks, and those index cards kind of help me stick to my guns and stick to my plan. And when I think about Bitcoin, it's not, I don't have a plan yet. I mean, I know I'm going to take some off the table eventually, but I don't want to take my Bitcoin off the table. I might sell my altcoins. But right now I sell my altcoins for what I would call the blue chips, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum. And so it's like, I don't want to, this is the most valuable digital asset in the world. It's like, why would I ever sell? Why would people hold on to stocks and give them to their kids. I'm like, I think that cryptocurrencies are exactly that, like something that you don't want to get rid of. And so you're right in that. I mean, hey, if it goes to $1 million, yeah, I'm going to take a couple of chips off the table. I'm going to buy that beach house I've always wanted.
Yeah.
But it's not in the forefront of my mind. But I think having an exit strategy obviously is really important. And I agree. I think selling too early is a fear of mine. Even with these smaller altcoins, as these projects start to do well, and I generally try to sell a third on a triple, and I just stick to my plans. But even then, I feel like I closed out Luna, which is the Terra network, last week.
That's your best trade.
Yeah, I think that's one of my best trades to date. I think it was, bought around 30 cents and just sold for a little over $8. So
like that's 27x.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
It's insane. So
So since we're on the topic of like altcoins, right? Like we all have our favorite altcoins. Like some may be shit coins, but like we have this emotional attachment to them. So I want to talk about like portfolio allocation, not just from like a cash perspective, but like how you like allocate your portfolio. So I'll just start with for me, I have around half my portfolio in Bitcoin, and this is my crypto portfolio. I have around 20% in ETH, and the other 30% is spread around like my favorite altcoins, whether they work out or not. Like, because I feel like I feel like I've spent so much time into this space, so like I feel like I can beat the market, right?
Right.
By investing in altcoins. So the 30% is like spread around like my favorite altcoins. But how about you? Like, how do you spread out your portfolio?
Yeah, when I first started taking half my paycheck and putting it into crypto and blockchain, I made a sizable investment, or at the time it was sizable, mainly in Bitcoin, just like you. And I would say that 50% is in Bitcoin, maybe a little bit more than 50%. And then probably 25 to 30% Ethereum, and the remaining, 25 to 20% in altcoins. But I have been a little bit more bullish because in the alts as of late, because I think we're in the middle of a huge grind higher. And so what I've been kind of doing is when I see a project that I really like, I'm willing to swing a little bit more. But that kind of brings up the idea of diversification versus kind of really putting your eggs in one basket and watching them closely.
So sorry to interrupt, but that's ahead. One of my questions too. Like, I think you own a lot more coins than I do, right? Like in terms of like this percentage division between Bitcoin, ETH, and alts were pretty similar, but there's how many coins I have. 2, 4. Like I only own, what is it? 2, 4, 8 different assets.
Yeah. Wow.
But I feel like you have like 20 or 30, right?
Yeah, I think I have around 30.
So like my philosophy is like, I feel like if I have 20 to 30, like I get the allure, right? Like, oh, maybe this is like a VC type investment. I'm just like spreading my bets, and like if something like Luna goes 27x, it's like it'll make up for it. But for me, I feel like it'll be easier to manage my positions if I just like stick to under 10 and follow each of them closely. Maybe add one, subtract one, etc.
I agree. Yeah.
But like why did you opt to go for, like
More of a
the bigger
basket.
basket? Yeah.
Yeah, that has to do with my lack of knowledge when I first got into the space. And I kind of thought, okay, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin. And then I'm going to, like a VC approach, like you said, I'm going to buy a number of these projects. And I think because I really didn't know what I was looking for at the time, I read about, I read white papers and I thought, wow, this is really interesting, but it's hard not to read about a space that's evolving so quickly and get excited about every project. And so what I did was I had probably at that time around 15 to 20 alts where I was just putting smaller percentages into each one. And really, that was about a year or two ago. Yeah, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time, you've seen a large price appreciation here. And I think I've only had one of them go bad. One of those investments basically, due to regulatory issues, shut down. And every single other one has gone up, at least 5x, which is awesome. But I think now we're in a different period of the market, and now I'm kind of able to do a little bit more due diligence and really understand what I'm looking for. And so in the beginning, it was more of a VC, buy a basket. I'm new to the space, and now it's kind of like, okay, I'm looking for a really strong development team. I'm going to dig in and look, because now I can kind of track. There's a lot more metrics that you can kind of track and follow along, especially, if they're ERC tokens, you can look at the on-chain data. And so I guess I have higher conviction now in what I'm doing and what I'm investing in. And so I would agree in that I'm going for less quantity and more quality. It's really hard to do, but I think you're going to see, especially in this bull market, you're going to see a rising tide lifts all boats, and you're going to see some projects here go 10x that probably shouldn't, but you have money that's, people are essentially chasing these things higher that don't fully understand. Maybe they're in a position like I was 2 years ago. They're going to drive these prices much higher. And I think in the long term, it'll be like the internet, in that these projects aren't going to all survive. And the projects with great developers and people who are actively managing the project, those ones are going to stick around. And those investments could be, the equivalent of investing in an incredible equity like Apple or any tech stock back in the day. And so it's hard for me to sell all of them. I've taken my initial capital off the table, but I still want to hold them and see them through, because I really do think that alts aren't just a kind of, obviously you see higher returns in alts. And I think a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to get rich on the alts and then I'm going to buy Bitcoin. And that's kind of what I've done to an extent, and taking my initial capital off the table on the alts and then putting it into Bitcoin. But I'm still holding those projects, and I do think that some of them will fade away, but the ones that stick around will be here to stay and really kind of change the market and change tech as we know it. But I think that my portfolio will slowly kind of decrease into more of a concentration like yourself. That's kind of why I did it. I think that you have smart investors like Raul doing something similar, in that I don't think he understands the alts as well as some of the other guys who've been in space a long time. So he did a basket approach too. So I think that a lot of people who are trying to get involved in the space, it's not a bad idea to buy a more diversified portfolio and not try to find the next Bitcoin, essentially.
Yeah.
Sorry for the tangent. I think it's an interesting topic.
I remember someone once said, like, diversification is a way to like protect and grow your wealth, right? But concentration like really builds growth. I know hindsight is 2020, but like instead of having 20 coins, like what if you held 5 coins, right? And
Right.
like you put like more capital into each, and one of them was Luna, like your
Right.
27x. Like if you think about it, I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020. Like if you only
Yeah.
do 5, maybe you would have missed Luna.
Yeah,
But
which is actually what would have happened, because it's interesting how Luna was one of my lower conviction picks, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to put a smaller investment into Luna. Not really sure. It's primarily in South Korea, and
yeah,
um, I think that's home market biasy, right? A lot of people invest in U.S. equities that live in the U.S., and
hmm
it's kind of similar for some crypto projects. It's more comfortable to invest in projects that are in the States, but I would have missed out on Luna if I wasn't diversified enough. So it's a really difficult balance to figure out. But I
hmm
would agree, if the longer you've been in the space and kind of the more knowledgeable you come, I think you can take fewer bets and just wait for the right trade to come across.
yeah. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. Like with
Mm-hmm.
my goal is to just stick to less than 10 assets and just concentrate my bets there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I might be like like full of shit, but I do think I have an edge given how much I study.
Sure. I think you
Um,
do, with 6 days a week. Like, this is your full-time job. That's why,
yeah.
honestly, I ask you sometimes. I don't get to kind of dig in until 6:30 when I get off work.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I wanted to kind of poke you a little bit here and say, what do you think? Is this a bubble right now? I mean, there's a lot of people saying it's a bubble, and this is with the Fed printing as much money as they are, and asset prices being at all-time highs, and the greatest bull market you've seen, and it's a 12-year bull market, something like that, 13.
hmm
Um, what do you think? Uh, do you think it's a bubble? Do you think that
Yeah,
that
it's hard to say, right? I mean, like if you're on Twitter or if you're like watching YouTube videos or like watching CNBC, they always have like the doomers on saying like, "Oh my God, like look at the indicators. It's a bubble. It's a bubble."
right,
But
PE
I'm
ratios?
yeah, I'm starting to think that like it's not really a bubble, and like what really is a bubble, right? Like I just think about like when I think about the current market conditions, I just think of it as like there's so much money chasing too few assets,
Hmm.
and like every asset, right? I mean, in the U.S., right? Like every asset is denominated in USD, and when you're printing the denominator, I mean, it's just gonna go to it's just the stocks only go up.
Yeah,
And to call a top in any environment, you're basically just anointing yourself as a macro god, which I think is
yeah,
a dangerous game to play.
yeah,
It like if like the narrative makes sense, right? Like, oh my god, like COVID happened, small businesses are going out of business,
yeah.
unemployment, yada yada yada, inflation, money printing. Oh my god, it's all gonna go to zero again.
Right.
I mean, that's like a really, I mean that narrative really catches your attention, right? So I think that's why the perma bears always like are top of mind
Right.
on TV and on
Right.
social media, etc. But I mean, I guess it is a bubble, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Tesla is a bubble,
Well,
but
yeah. Well, what I think I would know, which is not even a high level macro um, thesis. It's that I've just noticed a lot of people are at home. A lot of people have been saving a lot of money, which is interesting. I saw some data showing that the level of average saving in the U.S. has
all time
gone up
high.
all time high. Yeah, and so you have these people are just kind of twiddling their thumbs at home, um, and I wore I went to lunch the other day, and I was wearing a Bitcoin T-shirt, and it was a, it was a gag
Of
gift when I
course.
first really got into it, and I wear it now. I own it. So I was going to lunch, and at the table next to me, the guys saw my shirt and said they loved it or something, and then I heard them kind of talking to each other like, "Hey, have you been investing in Bitcoin?" And it's scary because they start talking about all the coins that they buy, and
The shit coins.
yeah, exactly. And I don't think they really know the space very well, and maybe they do, but to me, it's like it's a lunch table topic, and it's something that has kept people busy over these past couple months.
Hmm.
So obviously, I think prices are inflated here, and everyone's calling for a reversion to the mean. But I think I told you this, which was that I know this VC guy who's very smart, and we were surfing together the other day. And I said, "What do you think of the bubble?" And he said, "Well, what makes it a bubble?" And so you said something similar. And who knows? I mean, it could go for another 5, 10 years. I'm not going to make a living calling the top. I'm going to try to trade around my positions, but I think
Yeah.
I don't want to sell early. And it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you know greater fool theory, but
Yeah. Yeah.
man, have we been trained to buy this dip? Whenever there's a dip, it's like, especially on Twitter, any social media, just the amount of people saying buy the dip. Jim Cramer, anybody on CNBC telling us to buy the dip um, is incredible. But eventually, you go into a bear market, and that dip, it's no longer a dip, and it's
Yeah.
you're trying to catch a knife. And so I think we will see a really ugly downturn eventually, and the Fed propping this thing up has made it worse. But that kind of ties into what Jerome's doing, and Jerome Powell, and I actually think he doesn't get a lot of credit. I think I don't agree with his policy, but
Like what else he can
him,
do, right?
yeah, right.
Given
He's in a
like
hard
the
place.
world put him in this situation, there's like really
Right.
nothing he can do
It's
other than
scary
just
how,
like control P.
yeah, it's scary how every word he says people hang on to, and in the market obviously didn't like what he said last week, and didn't really mention yield curve suppression or anything like that. And I think he's letting a little bit of air out here, and I think it's going to be volatile over the next 2 weeks during this blackout period where they can't really say anything. But I think that's probably good because it's good to have corrections in a bull market. I don't think this is the top, but I do think, in the next 12, 24 months, it could get really ugly. But I could be totally wrong too. Fed could prop this up indefinitely.
Hmm.
And who am I to say it's a bubble? I just know it's expensive out there. Um,
Yeah.
and so I guess bubble or not, where do you think you see the space in the next 24 months, 2 years
Like
plus?
crypto, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
equities are boring. No one wants to talk about equities.
yeah. So okay, so with Bitcoin, I mean, Bitcoin is obviously like the biggest asset, and like biggest
Hmm.
crypto asset,
Hmm.
and there's always this talk about this 4-year cycle, like like we're gonna 10x, then we're gonna crash 80%, and it's gonna keep happening. I don't really buy it. I used to buy into that, right? Because that was like an easy narrative to like buy into. Oh, 4-year cycle theory, I can buy now and sell in like 3 years from now, and just like time to top.
Sure.
But I mean, ultimately, like there's no way that like with crypto you can just play the 4-year cycle theory for like until we die, right? Like that's not how it works. Uh, Either Bitcoin makes it or it doesn't, right? Or just
Mm.
crypto in general, it either makes
Right.
it or it doesn't.
Right.
It's either gonna go. We're either gonna make it to the citadel or we're gonna like die crying, right?
Yeah, and I think it's too late.
But
I think it's here to stay. It
yeah, but
has to be.
I think it's pretty apparent that like I mean Bitcoin's $1 trillion asset. I think it's pretty clear that we've made it. And if you think about it under that assumption, like assuming that we've made it, then like how far can we go? And when I start to think about the space in that way, then like 50K Bitcoin is too cheap, and like $1,700 ETH is too
Hmm.
cheap.
Hmm.
All these assets are way too cheap. Like what the hell? Like that's why I'm so like bullish.
Yeah.
Like no cash. Like screw it. Like because I feel like you said 24 months, but like 6 months from now, like you're gonna look back in March, be like, oh, I should have bought more.
Right.
24 months from now, I don't know. Like
Sure.
I don't think we'll ever see like an 80% correction. I think the hands are too strong in the space now.
Yeah.
But maybe a 40%, 50% correction, like that could happen
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because people will expect it.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, $1 trillion asset's a hell of a milestone, and I think Bitcoin and crypto is here to stay. Regulators always worry me because I feel like they don't understand the space,
Yeah.
If they overregulate, it might like hinder the space.
Janet Yellen's, geez, can't believe she's a professor at our at Berkeley at our
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I
alum.
mean regulators, they just say that like, oh, look at the terrorists and look at the rapists. Like that's like like that's their way to say,
Yeah,
you know,
kind of
Bitcoin
funny
is.
with Janet is she owns like $1 million of Tesla calls. I don't know if
Does she really?
yeah, she does. She owns like $1 million of Tesla calls, and I forget her strike. I think it was 1,000.
That was
Or
that pre-split or
uh, yeah, this was back in December. When was the split? Was it early January? I
I
don't know, but
forget.
yeah. But anyway, she was in the money. They were in the money calls, and she bought $1 million worth of Tesla calls. And so then, uh, I first of all, I thought that was shady because she did that, and then the stimulus package was announced, I think the next day. So
Yeah,
obviously the
that's
market
shady. I didn't
rallied,
even
and
know about
yeah,
that.
yeah, you should look into that. It's really interesting. But so she buys $1 million of Tesla calls, and then if you look back at the market and the correction in equities and Tesla, basically Elon announces that he's buying $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, and so then um, okay, 10-year goes up, growth stocks sell off. Tesla loses the largest total market share, basically decrease in a short period of time ever. I don't know
Mhm.
the exact numbers, but I know it was just the quickest decrease. Was it $100 billion of market cap?
Almost no, or how much they lost?
Yeah, it was 100 billion in market cap, right? More? I'm not
I
sure,
think they
but
went from like 900 to like 600 or something in a week.
yeah. So Janet Yellen isn't too happy because her investment in Tesla hasn't been doing well, and around the
Yeah,
same
she needs
period,
she needs to print more.
yeah, around the same time is when Elon invested in Bitcoin. So now she's been super negative about Bitcoin and about how it's very volatile. And so what I worry about, and you mentioned it, but I worry that the regulatory, uh, basically policymakers like Janet step in and say, you know what, we're going to impose a huge corporate tax on Bitcoin, 35-40% tax. So then uh, it would basically kind of keep corporations out of the space and slow down adaptation. And that's my only kind of really big fear short term is that large corporations are deterred from getting into the space because of a nasty regulatory policy. But I think it's too hard to do. I don't think she'll do it, or anyone in that space will impose really strict regulatory policy.
Yeah, and I feel like we're at a point where like being anti-crypto like might not be good like politically.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
see
Her
like
inner circle, she quickly walked back some negative statements she made about it. So I remember the
yeah,
first time it sold off, she came out, made some negative comments, and it sold off like 9%, and everyone said it was because of her. And but she's got an inner circle, and politicians are, people are in her ear, and she quickly walked it back. So I mean, look at Goldman, right? Goldman just relaunched, I should say,
yeah.
their
They did
crypto.
in 2017 too. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, oh my gosh, I hope that's not a market top indicator. But yeah, so I mean, they're in, and they polled their customers. I think 40% of their clients have exposure to cryptocurrency. So it's here to stay. I think it's here to stay. I'm excited to see where it goes. I originally kind of really got excited about the tech because when I see the tech playing out real time and changing things that happen in my everyday life, that's when I get really excited.
Mhm.
When I see how blockchain could be implemented to better everyday things that I use, I get really excited.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're in the space. I'm glad we're doing this podcast, and um, I mean, I think we'll probably continue to invest in projects together. Um, nothing we say on this podcast is investment advice.
Obviously,
Yeah.
we're just the two dudes talking
Yeah.
crypto.
Two Berkeley kids that reconnected via blockchain.
Yeah, and I think I think like for a lot of people that's not in the space, crypto might seem like overwhelming, right? I mean, it kind of is. Like, oh, Bitcoin is like easy to understand. Like, money printer go over like buy Bitcoin. That narrative, that meme, like has really helped Bitcoin. But DeFi, Ethereum, decentralized finance, this sounds like really
Oh
scary.
my
But
gosh,
I think
NFTs.
I think one of the biggest like positive catalysts to the space is going to be just like earning high yield on stable coins, right? I think that
Yeah.
use case is incredible. Like I used to think that like earning 0.05% at a bank was like normal,
Yeah.
right? I thought that
And
was good because like
yeah.
I'm making something. But
Yeah.
then on DeFi, like even on BlockFi, I can earn 8% on stable
Yeah.
coins.
Yeah.
Like
Use my BlockFi link to get. I'm kidding. No, I
yeah.
agree. And I talked to, I got connected with someone last year that shared a similar interest in crypto, and we nerd out every single day. My buddy Tim, and he's a very successful, built up the trading desk at a hedge fund, and really smart guy, much older than me, and more seasoned. But we originally kind of started talking about that, about how banks have this asymmetric risk, and they're taking your money, lending it out, and returning risk-free returns, and it's backward, and it needs to be changed. And BlockFi's doing it. A lot of different crypto projects are doing it, and it's kind of awesome because the individuals get to partake in their fair share of return on risk that they don't even know they're taking.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
excited for that.
DeFi is like incredibly powerful because it basically allows for peer-to-peer lending of money without a financial intermediary.
Right.
You just have to trust code, right?
Right.
And if you think about like banks and there's like savings account, I mean they're basically like taking all the profits and like using it to like pay their employees, like CEO bonuses, like rent for those like physical bank locations. But
Yeah. I use an
with
internet bank, by the way.
okay.
Yeah.
But like a JP Morgan kind of thing.
Yeah, no,
But
yeah, I totally get
but
you.
with crypto, like it's just code, and like you can have like a team of like 20 dudes in some European country or like in the US that just like makes this protocol, and you can earn like 10% on stable coins,
Yeah.
and it's
The
like
open
totally
source
normal.
and everything makes it kind of makes you sleep a little better at night. But I I actually would love to talk about, have you tried to help anybody get into the space? Because I've had a dozen, 2 dozen people reach out to me really interested in trying to get involved, but it's always hard to kind of get them to get over that first step and setting up an account and getting involved. But um,
Yeah.
what's your take on that? Helping people out, helping people get in the space.
Oh, I think if you're introducing someone that's new, you should just introduce them to Bitcoin first, because it is it is the easiest to explain, and it does feel safer than the other assets.
Yeah.
Like a $1 trillion asset, like it doesn't just grow on trees, right?
Yeah.
And it's so easy to explain. Like it's just like, yeah, like the government, like they're gonna print money because they want to get reelected, yada yada yada, and that's making you poor because the dollar is turning into toilet paper. I mean that narrative I think is super simple, and I think I mean I use that narrative to get like some of my friends to invest in Bitcoin.
Sure.
They haven't really gotten into Ethereum, but it's like Bitcoin, like just invest money there. I actually got my girlfriend to buy a bunch of Bitcoin
Oh
and
yeah,
some
she put the
Ethereum.
bottom in, I remember.
Yeah, I told her to buy the dip, and then when she bought the dip, that was the bottom. She puts in the bottom.
Big buyer. Yep.
Like
I
yeah, like
Yeah.
once every 2 weeks, she's like, "Should I buy crypto?" I'm like, "Yeah," and then that's the bottom. She
Yeah, I
puts in the
agree.
bottom.
I agree with you. Usually, I get that narrative. Usually I end up going very in depth, and maybe it's because I talk a lot, but it's hard for me because I think that narrative works for people our age. But when I try to explain, oh, there's code, and It's decentralized
Yeah,
and
I don't think like explaining the tech really works. I think
yeah,
it's all about the narrative.
yeah. If you're not tech inclined, I don't or tech minded, it's hard to do it. But it's interesting because most people get involved when they see the price appreciation, and I think the price appreciation goes back to you talking about the denominator being USD, and it's a huge narrative right now in the space of how does it look when we decouple from USD when things are no longer denominated in USD, right? Bitcoin's denominated in USD right now. When is it going to
Mhm.
be things are denominated in Bitcoin, or something like that?
Yeah,
Maybe it's not
I,
Bitcoin. Maybe it's a different cryptocurrency. Who knows? But
yeah, I feel like I'm not there yet, but at some point I'm gonna just like think of everything in terms of sats, like
yeah,
satoshis. For
yeah.
those that don't know, like one Bitcoin, you can break it down into 100 million satoshis, and those are called sats. And so like one Bitcoin's 50K, but you can like buy
Everyone always thinks they have to
smaller.
buy a full Bitcoin that I talk to.
Yeah,
Like,
you
oh
can
my
just
gosh, I wish I got in at 10,000. And I'm like, you can buy $10 right now if you want.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's early. We're still early. It's reassuring because I think we're in the third or fourth inning. I really do. I think we've got a lot of time here. Um, and even
Yeah.
at my job, I'm trying to. So part of my job is I structure financing on real estate transactions, but I also research blockchain, and I'm trying to implement blockchain into our business by onboarding, you know, real assets onto blockchain and offering yield similar to a yield farming project. But um, I get excited because I see it firsthand and how it can disrupt our own business, and so I think we're still really early. And I set my sister up. Um, she's got a BlockFi account. I think we should do a podcast on BlockFi eventually, and just kind of dig in and talk about it
Mhm.
because the space is so overwhelming when you get involved. And I've helped a number of people get into it, but setting up an account, understanding that not your keys, not your coins, and you should hold them in a wallet, um, or at least a piece of them you can leave on a BlockFi or in these yield farming, but um, we're still so early, and so
Mhm.
maybe we see a run up in asset prices here and a pullback in just like 17, and I don't think we pull back as far, but uh, man, it is hard to get people into the space, explain everything,
Yeah, I mean,
and you
people just
gotta,
think it's gonna
yeah.
crash. People just assume, because okay, like this is how people think, right? Like 2017, we hit 20K and it crashed. 2021, Bitcoin's 50K. Oh, it's gonna crash. I mean, that's how people think.
Right.
And I mean, I get it,
Everyone's trying to
right?
call it top, like you said.
Yeah, like if you don't understand what Bitcoin is and like its significance, like you're gonna have weak hands, right? Like if you don't understand Bitcoin, like 50K Bitcoin, 45K Bitcoin, 55K Bitcoin, like it doesn't really matter to you, right? And
No, I mean,
that's
I
like one of
bought
the
some
issues.
today, right, at 50,000. It's like,
Yeah, just gotta average in. And
yeah,
like I said, like my greatest fear is like selling too early. And
sure.
I feel like if you don't understand the asset, like you're gonna sell too early because
Yeah.
you're gonna make 10% in a week and you're gonna be like super happy and sell it. But I mean the real gains are made just like by understanding. Like there's always those horror stories of like someone buys like a coin really early on, it like goes 5x and they're
Loses their
so
wallet.
happy.
Yeah.
No, not even that. Like
Okay.
it goes 5x, they sell it because like they think they're geniuses, but it ends up being like a 30x or 40x, right?
Right.
Just because they like bought it because a friend told them to and like thought like a 5x is good enough for me. But if they like
Yeah.
really understood the tech and like really understood like why something is so
It
valuable.
gives you holding power.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
The
So
further
that's
you
why,
you go down the rabbit hole.
yeah, and that's why I'm focusing on less than 10 assets and
Hmm.
trying to understand each single one of them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like all my coins, like if it goes 10x, like yeah, sure, I'll take some off the table, but like I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's too expensive for me now. Like, no, it's like okay, it's approaching fair value.
Yeah, and
That's how I think of it.
I think that's a lot of. I think the best investors talk about trading around a position as opposed to, um, trying to time a top. And so a lot of people, I don't mind buying back an asset after it's gone up from where I originally bought. If I traded out of it because I thought it got a little frothy and I hit my short-term targets, I'll sell some, and I don't mind buying back. Maybe it's not as low as 7K on Bitcoin, or wherever I put my initial allocation. I'm okay. You're trading around a position, but I guess to wrap things up,
Yeah.
I think
Buy the dip, buy the damn dip.
by the dip.
Hodl.
Yeah, and I'm excited for some future podcasts. I think we'll do once a week and just talk about different things in the space. Maybe personal experiences in college, whatever. We're by no means experts, but and like I said, hopefully this isn't the top, and we're not putting it in. But yeah, I mean, I think the best way to get into the space is to follow it, to get in. You don't really feel the emotions or of a big up day or big down day unless you own some. So buy a little bit, hold it, follow the space, get involved, and then it could change your life. And I think
also to wrap things up, like I sometimes have this feeling, right? Like whenever, like, let's say like I wake up and like Bitcoin's up 10%. Like sometimes I'm like, ah, damn it. I was gonna buy today. Fuck, now but sometimes like if I wake up and Bitcoin's down 10%, I'm like, yes,
right,
cheaper coins. Thank God.
Right?
Thank you. And like that kind of mentality, I think, is really important to have in crypto. Obviously, like you have to control it. Like if you're like 90, if you have your entire net worth in crypto, then that's dangerous. I don't have my entire net worth.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm trying to control myself to not have.
Yeah, I know far too many people though, personally, who approach me now and they're like, "Yeah, Spence, I'm gonna get all in once that thing dips." And I've had friends, even myself included, I've had people from 10,000 that were like, once that thing goes back down to 5,000, I'm in. And now I have a buddy who, I kid you not, I mean, bought at 58,000 and was like, I'm in. then he bought. Dude, and I was like, bought, bro. Yeah, he bought. I was like, contraindicator, this thing's toast. And it pulled back and he hit me up and he's like, I'm down, 5K. What do you think? And I'm like, dollar cost average, buy your second half. I told you, don't put everything in right now. Just buy a half, wait for a dip. With a volatile asset like this, you're gonna get opportunities to buy on sale. And yeah, it's crazy. We're in the middle of it. We're in the thick of things, and it's gonna be fun. Yeah. So hold on. Yeah, diamond hands.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say is, like, if you told me 5 months ago that Bitcoin would be trading at 50K, like I probably would have punched you in the face. Like, no, like what's wrong with you? Like that's so stupid. But now we're living in this. Like I would never have imagined 50K Bitcoin in February. I would have thought ETH would be higher by now, but I think ETH will keep running.
Yeah, I don't usually say price targets, but I really think ETH above 3K by the end of the year. Bitcoin.
You're such a bear, bro. God.
I know, with ETH. Yeah, I just think there's a lot of ETH killers out there now, and so I'm not sure. I mean, transaction volume hasn't gone down that much. There's still a huge demand for it, but I love Ethereum.
I'm still bullish ETH.
Yeah, I'm super bullish it too, but I'm setting a realistic price target. I think at least 3K by the end of the year, 100K Bitcoin. We put round numbers on targets, and it's just the human way of doing it. But
you're like the most bearish bull. 3K ETH, 100K
I think
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin's going to $1 million. eventually. I actually last December was like 50K Bitcoin by the end. Like I thought I kind of called price on Bitcoin of last December. And I was kind of like, it's funny when your predictions come true because you're like, wow, oh, I kind of was right. Okay, cool. Like I had conviction.
Time to start a podcast.
Yeah, time to start a podcast. Here we are. Yeah, we just got to figure out what to name it.
Yeah. Episode 1 of Untitled Podcast.
Yeah, we should just be the Untitled Podcast.
Maybe. All right. So let's wrap things up here. Thank you everyone for watching. If you have any suggestions on what other topics you want us to talk about, like please leave in the comment section below.